By a Mexican restaurant in Georgia, a father named William leaves the car, telling his daughter Kat that he'll be right back before she waves him off with a grin. She waits dutifully while playing on her phone. The rumbling sound of a big car's engine and its tires kissing the asphalt through the same street is a wordless announcement of trouble coming their way. Kat senses this, immediately moving to close up the car windows as she takes a peek at the other car's passengers. They look like thugs, local criminal syndicate that you should avoid making eye contact with, which is exactly what Kat is trying to do. However, the car eventually stops right beside William's car. Two men step out, brothers named Danny and Rory Fetter. They are big shots of the local syndicate led by their father. The thugs and their men move toward Kat with sudden, explosive violence. Danny yanks the door open and Kat's scream tears through the street. Fetter's men grab her and pin her down by the sidewalk as she cries for help. Unfortunately, her father couldn't hear her past the restaurant's loud music. Kat tries to bargain with them. She offers her phone, her money, whatever she has.
I don't have any money. I don't have anything. I don't have...
But Danny leans close to her face and tells her, quietly and with a kind of ceremonial conviction, that he doesn't want her money. What he wants, in the language of men like his father, is her soul.
I want your soul.
Killing Kat is meant to be a formal initiation for Danny to join the syndicate. Kat keeps screaming, and William finally is on the move after receiving his order of tacos. Rory gives his little brother some pep talk, riling him up to finally make his first kill. Finally, Danny pulls out his gun and aims it at Kat, who repeats the word no, as if it could save her from this tragic fate. The gunshot is singular and definitive, alerting William to what is happening outside. Kat falls, but Danny decides to fire another shot. The Fetter brothers and their posse are leaving before the sound has fully faded. Just then, William walks out of the restaurant to find his daughter dying on the pavement. He screams for help, sees the Fetter brothers, and runs. William tackles Danny onto the ground while Rory decides to leave his little brother to run away. The two men left behind get into a fist fight, with Danny eventually knocking the older man down and trying to run away. However, the police are already surrounding him. It's too late. As they arrest Danny, William runs towards his injured daughter, collapsing onto the asphalt. He presses his hands against her with a desperation that knows, on some level, it is already too late, but cannot yet accept that knowledge. He nervously waits for news of Kat's treatment in the hospital's waiting room when his wife, Jen, comes running to him. While trying to explain what happened, the doctor comes out, his somber expression alone revealing the bad news. The most brilliant day of Kat's life and the last one. Both things simultaneously and irreversibly true. Even through their immense grief, William still has to deal with Danny's prosecution. The legal system does what it always does to grief. It processes it. A prosecuting attorney lays out the situation with the detached pragmatism of a woman who measures justice in plea deals and acquittal risks, rather than in the scale of what was actually lost. She informs that Danny Fetter's attorney is offering a plea deal. Danny will admit to a few less incriminating charges. In return, he will most likely serve only 5 to 7 years in prison, even 3 if he behaves well. William is rightfully angry about this consideration to lighten the charges. However, the prosecutor reminds him that no murder weapon has been recovered by the investigators. There is no surveillance footage from the street either. If William decides to take this to trial, he will be standing as the sole eyewitness of the crime with not much other evidence against Danny. Go to trial and risk Danny walking free immediately if the jury isn't convinced. Accept the deal and guarantee at least something. William decides to take it to trial anyway. He takes the stand as the sole eyewitness when the prosecutor asks if he can confidently point out the man whom he saw had killed his daughter. He can clearly see Danny sitting in the defendant's seat, looking as smug and as crazed out as ever. In a shocking turn of events, William says no, he cannot point out Kat's killer. Both the prosecutor and the judge must ask him to repeat his statement, as it's ludicrous for him to suddenly shift gears when he was the one so gung-ho on getting justice for his daughter. He remains with his statement, and the case folds on itself like a house of cards. The judge dismisses the hearing right then and there, effectively freeing Danny to return to his wayward life. The young killer walks out of the courthouse alone, only to see his brother walking up from their car parked right up front. Rory gives Danny a big hug, congratulating him on both his first kill and on being able to get away with it to boot. Neither of them notices William, who is watching their interaction from a distance. He's plotting the true way he will take revenge from Danny. The brothers walk towards the car. Inside, their father, the syndicate boss named Donnie, rolls down the window to also congratulate his son. The cold and mysterious man says that both his sons can have whatever they want from this world now that they know how to take it for themselves. William stalks Danny through the nights that follow with a soldier's patience and a father's rage held in perfect, terrible balance. He learns Danny's patterns and schedules. That night, William is ready to execute his version of justice. He waits for Danny outside the back door of the club run by the Fetters, called The Den. He hears one of Rory's friends yelling at a woman to keep it moving. The woman, presumably one of the erotic dancers and lady of the night employed by Fetter, approaches William in his car. She asks if he would like to hire her services, but he refuses. She leaves, along with Rory's friend. Not long after, William sees Danny walking out of the back door. He wastes no time while the moment is right. William uses his vehicle as a weapon, slamming into Danny from behind and dropping him to the wet pavement in a chaos of pain and shock. Danny finally realizes who his attacker is, and through his blood-stained teeth, he warns William of the danger he'll be in if he kills the younger man. William takes Kat's softball bat from his car. After a degrading comment Danny makes about Kat, the father shows no mercy in beating him up. The killing is not clean or cinematic. It is what it is. A grief so enormous it has no other form left to take. He goes home immediately after he kills Danny. Didn't even bother hiding the body, but after parking his car in the garage, he tries his best to clean up the blood and evidence of his brutal killing. Upon entering the house, he sees Jen nursing her own grief by watching a video of Kat's 16th birthday celebration, which happened only a few days before her death. Their baby's dream of playing professional softball while going to law school was ripped from the family. Noticing something is off with her husband, Jen asks if he's okay. William brushes her off and hurries to the bathroom. He strips the jacket he used to hide the blood-stained shirt. He frantically scrubs away the bloodstains while shaking in tears of agony and grief. In bed that night, Jen once again asks if William is all right. He doesn't answer directly, but talks about the loops of what-ifs that keeps playing inside his mind. If only they took a different route or arrived 15 minutes late, would Kat still be alive? Jen tries to anchor him with love and logic, but the secret he carries is heavier than anything she is prepared for, and it lives between them like a third presence in the room. At the same time, Rory and his men arrive at the Fetters Club. He enters his father's office to give him the profits from their drug-dealing business. Donnie starts yelling profanities at his own son, claiming that the money is not enough, and even accusing Rory of indulging in their own product. He warns Rory not to repeat the same mistake again, and despite his clear annoyance at Donnie's nagging, the young man gives his word. Outside, in the club, Rory's friends find out about Danny's death. One of them breaks the news to Rory, who doesn't take it well. They come to the scene of the crime, where police and investigative units are already working on the case. Rory demands to be let through the police line, but he is held back by an officer. He manages to take a glance and confirm that the deceased is indeed his younger brother. And that's all he needed to know. In the morning, the lead investigator, Detective Neil Chen, visits the Duncans' house. He informs the couple that their daughter's murderer has been murdered himself and asks for William's whereabouts at the time of the murder. William says he was out for a run before staying home all night, which is corroborated by Jen. He tries his best to seem as clueless and innocent as possible, but Neil doesn't seem to be buying it. Since he has no concrete evidence otherwise, Neil decides to stop his line of questioning, but also implying that he might still have more questions for another day. After the detective leaves, it's Jen's turn to also question what William was doing outside that night. She doesn't want him to return to his old way of violence, but he reassures her that he's not going to. Back at the club, Rory gets his men to dig some information on who killed his brother. His friend mentions that some girls were working outside that night, and one of them, the one who seduced William, decides to speak up. She says he seems out of place. Rory shows her a picture of William, and she confirms his identity. Now, Rory has a clear target on this ongoing chain of vengeance. The war finds William's doorstep before he can prepare for it. Rory and an underling named Henley come downtown where William is opening his laptop outside of a coffee shop by the street. They waste no time trying to attack William, but the man has strong intuition and reflexes. A fight ensues between William and Rory alongside Henley. Eventually, the thugs have him pinned down on the street, seconds away from getting shot. Rory walks away victorious, but William pulls a move that ends up killing Henley. Police are starting to arrive on the scene, so William and Rory both decide to retreat. Rory finds a wallet that William dropped during the fight, gaining knowledge of his home address. William rushes home while calling his wife, yelling at her to stay indoors and close all doors and windows. When he arrives, Jen demands an explanation, which is only sparsely given. She has strong intuition herself, so she urges him to call Detective Neil for some help. The man in question is already on the scene of Henley's murder when he receives the call from William. Sensing a connection, he immediately immediately comes to the Duncans' house. He confronts William, saying that he knows the grieving father killed both Danny and Henley, and the detective doesn't even blame him. However, he explains how William had declared war with the Fetters through his actions. Neil knows about William's past as a Marine soldier. His 2 tours in the Middle East would have honed his combat skills despite years of disuse. William asks for help to secure their home in case of an attack, but since he's not cooperating with the police investigation, Neil can only station 2 officers outside of the residence. That night, William tells Jen everything. He watches the horror and the loyalty fight each other across her face in real time, watches her absorb the fact that the man she loves has killed someone and started a war in the ruins of their grief. She doesn't leave him or ask him to undo it, just saying that they need to leave the house if it's not safe there. William assures her that the patrol car stationed outside will keep them safe for the night so they can leave in the morning. For a few hours at least, they believe they have time. They don't. The Fetters move first. Someone throws a bottle at the patrol car stationed outside, a simple, effective diversion that draws the officers away, driving with their siren on to defend their ego. Donnie and Rory walk through the front door of the Duncan home with the unhurried confidence of men who have done this kind of thing many times before. Gun aimed at the couple. Donnie orders them to surrender their phones. William tries to secure Jen from the violence, but Donnie wants this to be a family affair. He asks Jen if she knew her husband was a murderer, but she retaliates, saying it's only because Danny killed Kat first. Eye for an eye, son for a daughter. But Donnie rejects the entire premise because to him, Danny's life is worth more than anything. He takes out his own gun and shoots Jen in a flash. William panics, but Rory forces him to his knees. He wants the man to beg for his life, then shoots. William lays on the floor gasping for air next to his dead wife. Rory gives him a final salute before shooting him one more time, leaving the house with his father. William calls 911 before consciousness fully leaves him, his voice thin but somehow still purposeful. He wakes in a hospital bed, barely recovered, and the knowledge of Jen's death lands before the room has fully resolved around him. He screams for the medical staff to let him die. The doctors sedate him, stabilize him, and enforce recovery on a body that is not cooperating with the effort. Days pass in a fog of medication and machines, and the particular hell of enforced stillness in a mind that cannot stop. Detective Neil eventually comes to his bedside, calls him a miracle man, with the slightly stunned conviction of someone who means it literally. William stays quiet, but Neil knows that this is far from over. He tries to discourage William by saying that he'll be dead for real if he keeps messing with the Fetters, but death is no longer a threat to a man who had lost his whole family to it. After some time doing physical rehab, learning how to walk again, and plotting in the hospital, William manages to sneak out undetected. He finds his way to the Western Motel, a cash-only operation on the city's outskirts where no one checks names. There, he meets Dante, a car thief and common lone thug who has been following the Fetter story on the news. Dante recognizes William immediately and offers some help. William is reluctant at first, but he knows he needs firearms if he wants to fight the Fetters. So, Dante takes him to his motel bedroom, laying out all of the guns he had received as a payment for a stolen car sometime earlier. William asks why Dante would help him, and the man reveals that he lost a cousin to Rory Fetter's gun years ago. He also took a bullet to the shoulder in the same incident. After inspecting the weapons, William buys everything: multiple firearms, ammunition, the jacket, and a clean car with no paper trail. He takes the arsenal to an isolated field and trains for days while using the motel as his new home base. Shooting drills, breathing techniques, the physical discipline of a soldier, reactivating skills that were never truly dormant. When his body has remembered everything it needs to remember, he goes to the cemetery and stands at the graves of Kat and Jen in the quiet of the evening, in the long grass and the dew. He doesn't speak. He lets the weight of what he's about to do settle properly, and then he leaves. Meanwhile, in the Fetters Club, Donnie once again blames his eldest for his negligence, which caused Danny to die. It's clear who the favorite child was, but Rory is used to this treatment. He leaves his father's office in an angry huff. William works systematically to execute his revenge. He starts with Zach, one of Rory's most trusted lieutenants, infiltrating his home at night and extracting through brutal necessity the information he needs. Zach finally admits that Rory is at the club. The information costs him his life, a calculation William makes without hesitation. Neil, watching the body count rise with mounting alarm, makes one final attempt to de-escalate by visiting Donnie's club directly and warning the Fetters that William is hunting them. If this turns into a full-blown war between one man on a quest of vengeance and a local crime syndicate, then the police cannot really stop him. Donnie dismisses him with contemptuous confidence. He tells Rory to handle it and sends Neil away. William, watching Neil leave the club from across the street, feels the betrayal of it in his chest. He follows the detective's car as it wades through the streets until he arrives home. He confronts the detective, aiming his own gun to his head, and accuses him of being a crooked cop. Neil denies it, saying that he's only trying to stop this bloody war and help Neil let go of the violent past. William retaliates, saying that Neil has been complicit through inaction, looking away from the fetters while they operated freely. Neil does not argue the substance of the accusation. He admits, with the resignation of a man who has been carrying that guilt for a long time, that the fetters have a structural immunity built into the city's corruption, and that he regrets not being able to do anything to protect the community. William threatens Neil to let him get his bloody revenge. Then the police could capture him once the job is done. He leaves the house with a steeled resolve. There is only one more thing to do. The morning after, Donnie sends Rory and the crew out to hunt William, confident in numbers and the comfort of a man who has never once considered that the thing hunting him might be faster than anything he's faced before. Meanwhile, William has been parked across from the club since earlier. He lets them drive away before taking the bouncer quietly at the entrance. He moves through the corridors of the building that represents everything the Fetter family built on the backs of grief and fear, and he steps into Donnie's private office. Donnie doesn't break. He tells William to get it over with, but William wants to talk first. He tells Donnie what it felt like to kill Danny, the rawness and release of it, the way his mind finally went quiet for a few seconds after years of screaming. He asks whether Donnie felt anything like that when he killed Jen. Donnie says nothing, and in his silence, William reads everything. The indifference, the absence of remorse, that Jen's death was simply about sending a message. William pulls the trigger. The head of the Fetter organization dies in his own chair, and the sound of it moves through the club like a declaration. William takes Donnie's phone from the dead man's pocket, uses his fingerprint to unlock it, and calls Rory. Their conversation is vague, but when Rory finds out it's William, he asks if William has killed his father. William simply says yes. Rory threatens to kill him in return, but he says it's an empty threat for a man who's already dead inside. William hangs up, and Rory orders his men to return to the club. They arrive not long after, all storming their own club with guns drawn. They come into Donnie's office and find his dead body slumped on his chair. Rory tells his men not to be sorry for his loss, since Donnie was a terrible father and a bad person anyway. Suddenly, William's voice cuts through the building's speaker system, repeating his words from the earlier call with Rory. The blonde yells at his men to find William, and they all move to scour the club for their target. Gunshots break the silence as William starts shooting at Rory's men from behind the bar counter. A flurry of gunshots is exchanged between the two sides, but nobody manages to get shot yet. Then, William ambushes one of the men and uses him as a human shield against the rest of the crew. He threatens to kill the man if Rory comes any closer, but to his surprise, Rory shoots his captured underling himself. The rest of his men continue to shoot at William, who escapes from the front door. He runs towards his car with Rory's men shooting behind him. Rory shoots his own dead underling once more before walking out and watching William drive away from the club. William returns to the motel. Dante is standing outside his room, watching as William struggles to head to his own room. The girl who ratted him out to Rory is also there, and she calls Rory to report the wounded man's whereabouts. Inside his room, William is writhing in pain when Dante knocks on his door. The car robber comes in and notices that William has been shot in the shoulder. He offers to help check the wound. William asks him to retrieve the bullet lodged inside with forceps. Outside, Rory and his men arrive at the motel. They come to the reception booth, and Rory asks the man if he knows which room William is staying in by running the car's license plate numbers. The receptionist says it's not registered in the system, so Rory shoots him dead, to his subordinate's surprise. Even fellow mobsters think that Rory's actions are disturbing and cruel. After Dante manages to pull out the bullet in William's shoulder, they hear Rory calling out William's name from the top of William's car. Dante slowly opens the room's door a little bit, while William prepares a sniper rifle. He fires at Rory but misses the shot. More gunfighting ensues. Dante and William walk out of the room while still exchanging shots with Rory's men. They finally reach Dante's car and drive away from the motel. Rory follows suit in his own car. They drive through an empty stretch of road. William and Rory still shooting at each other. Rory's car keeps barely catching up behind behind William, but being a car thief means Dante has amazing driving skills. He's also calling Roach. Apparently, Dante's plan is to bring them all to Roach's workshop so William can have some backup. Roach says he'll help, and he instructs his men in the workshop to prepare for an ambush. When Dante manages to pull up to the garage, the doors are open, and he drives in. A group of Roach's men is stationed outside, shooting at Rory's car. Rory tells his men to back up their car, seemingly ending the chase. Inside, Dante thanks Roach for his backup. Roach even recognizes William from the news as the guy who's been killing the Fetters. Suddenly, Rory's car crashes into the workshop's door. A gunfight between his men and Roach's men ensues inside the workshop. In the chaos, Rory shoots Roach dead. Dante tells William to go and hide while he finishes off some of Rory's men. However, Rory also shoots Dante. In the end, only Rory remains standing in the middle of the workshop. He calls out to William in a playful, condescending way. He shoots William in the stomach while the older man is about to ambush him. Standing over the writhing man, Rory says that he doesn't blame William for Donnie's death, but his little brother is something else, not meant for the dark underworld, like him and William. As Rory crouches down to get the last word in, William stabs his neck with a screwdriver. Rory dies with a bloodied grin. The police sirens approach them. Dante, who is still alive but badly injured, he prefers to run away before getting caught up with law enforcement. Detective Neil steps out of a police car, gun in hand, as they enter the trashed workshop. Some of the henchmen are still alive, gravely wounded. Eventually, Neil finds William sitting not far from Rory's body. Neil crouches down to greet him, knowing that William doesn't have much time to live. The dying man still has the heart to joke with Neil. Then, he puts out his hands so Neil can arrest him. Not even a minute later, he draws his last breath, his body reaching the limit. William Duncan takes his last breath in the same city where his daughter took hers. He dies in the wreckage of his revenge, which is what revenge always is, a fire that consumes whatever you aim it at and then turns on the hand that lit it.